Hello again, Mr. T. Lee Poet here. Today I'm going to be discussing, I'm going to get straight on with it about dyslexia. Okay, dyslexia is a big thing these days, and it's a challenging thing that I've struggled with, and I'm confessing that a lot of people probably didn't know, or some people probably worked it out. But amongst me, there's many famous people. I did some research the other day, just seeing like all these people that have it, and I realize it's not nothing to be afraid of or feel like bad about. And there's a lot of support these days to help you with that. I discovered it maybe like just about a year and a half, 2 years ago with a friend. I was on the phone to from my uni actually when we were speaking a little bit after that, and she was explaining to me that she recently as well discovered that she's got dyslexia, and she did a test, and all the things, the attributes that she was talking about, I realized that I had similar ones. Now, I don't know if we're going to get to cover all types of dyslexia, but what I can do is share with you the types of dyslexia that I'm used to hearing, and the ones that I know that I struggle with, most of the levels that I struggle with myself. And mainly that's down to reading and writing, and probably like memory as well. So like retaining what I've read, or usually what I've written is easier to retain because I'm using another muscle whilst doing that. And that helps to strengthen something that I've read and then writing about it after. However, the reading side, I'll get straight on with it. The reading side is that I find that when I'm reading, depending on how connected I am with that piece of reading. So if I'm interested in it, or if I'm not interested in it, and I know that I work with students a lot. I do teaching. So again, there you go. People are doing great things with still this struggle. But when reading, sometimes you struggle with maybe pronunciation a little bit. Sometimes the word might not come to you straight away. The words, sometimes they jump out at you and they're mixed up. They're all mixed up on the page sometimes. And that's down to a training mechanism in your brain. So if I haven't read for a while, it's like I'm almost starting all over again. Now, I know the basics, like the sounding of letters and, the reading, and, you read a sentence at a time. Depending on how small the letters are, the words are, sometimes that gets in the way a bit. So if you know anyone who's struggling with dyslexia and you hear some of these symptoms that I'll mention in this video, then you'll realize that maybe they're struggling with the same thing. But I will help you along the way as much as I can as a teacher and as someone who has dyslexia, to help you with some strategies to get through them. Now, one thing is I don't like labels. Okay? Labels enough put people in categories and get people to point fingers, okay? Talking about pointing fingers, when people point a finger, okay, the other three are pointing right back at them, all right? So when people are usually making judgments, just remember that the other three fingers are pointing right back at them, and life isn't perfect for everybody, all right? Let's get that straight. Doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, doesn't matter if you're black or white, Chinese, Asian, wherever. Everyone goes through a struggle, goes through some type of struggle in life. And sometimes this plays a part on some of your anxieties because you're trying to maybe please the person that you're reading to, or who you're writing to, or who you're writing for, who you're reading for. Like for instance, if you're reading in a class amongst students, or you're doing your driving test or something, and your instructor's watching you. Now, I had to do my driving test 4 times, and I'll be honest with you, I knew how to drive, but I had some habits. But at the same time, it was the demeanor of the character. It was the way that that person presents themselves. So sometimes people come across as if, like, in your head, that they're better than you, all right? And it feels like a type of arrogancy. So sometimes we struggle with this anxiety that we're trying to please and do our best that we can. In tests, this is another thing as well. So when you're doing exams, especially if you're trying to retain information, you trying to do your best to remember everything that you can and be as coherent as possible when you're writing. Now, we all have some of these. It doesn't have to be labelled as dyslexia. It can be also, not just could be, but could be also anxieties. All right. So, many people that I know have come across in my journey of life that they struggle with these things and attributes too. So yes, when reading, what I will say is that I will have to sometimes read a page over and over and over again in order to grasp what it is, what I'm learning, yeah, to see if I understand what it is that I'm learning. So if I'm reading something and I don't connect with it, then I know that I'm going to have to read that page over and over again. Now, I try to read on the train sometimes, okay? I'm going to say as much as I can and get as much out as possible, all right? Time is short for me as well. So when I'm reading on the train sometimes, depending on my environment, I realize sometimes the words, I'm reading them, but my mind is somewhere else. Or if I'm reading, even at home when I'm alone, or, you know, wherever, my mind tends to start thinking about other things. It's like a form of meditation. So sometimes it's a good thing, okay? Some of us need to do that because I find it very hard to settle down sometimes to get on with a task, to process a task, especially if it's my own. Now I can go to work and do my job coherently, do you know what I mean? It seems to be a process and a routine that I can do, yeah? But if I wanted to do a task for myself, like I want to write a book or write something, and I know that I really want to do it, I have to do so much to calm myself down, maybe playing some calm music or preparing myself beforehand, and I'll find other things to do to kind of distract me from getting the task done. This also could be a form of it, okay? And this could just be some life skills that many of us struggle with as well. So there's so much for everybody in this video. So get into the reading, okay? When the words are mixed up and everything and they're jumping out at me, I need to read it over again. Anyone who struggles with this, sometimes you need to go away to another space, put a bookmark in it, maybe write down the page number, maybe get your teacher or someone to photocopy that page for you and come back and read it so you can grasp it in a time and understanding, or get someone to help you understand what it is that you're reading, all right? Because sometimes you could just totally shut down from the subject or the piece or the article that you're reading and just won't ever, you know, maybe years later or months later, you'll come back to it and think, okay, I see what I was trying to read at the time. But depending on the thought process and the mindset that you were struggling with, you might not get it at the time. So my thing to you is to try your best to try different learning methods. Record yourself reading it. This is another key one. Record yourself reading something, maybe just even the beginning. You might not want to record the whole thing, but just to start, just to get you going, just to get you started, to get the juices flowing in your head, hearing yourself read it. Get a dictaphone, it's a very big thing. I have like 4 or 5 of them. For some reason I was just addicted to them because I used to love reading and reciting my poetry, or reading poetry that I've freestyled or I've wrote, and, you know, playing them back to see how they sound. And yeah, that's with the reading. The reading, if there's anything else with reading, yes, sometimes what I've discovered where I teach, because I help other young people with these similar problems as well. So what I do is when I'm teaching and I find out that they are struggling and they have like either reading difficulties or dyslexia as well. And what I tend to do is I find out what it is, their thought process, what they're going through, and I make them be aware of it. So when you're reading, say for instance, the first letter might be, I went to see my friend at the train station. Okay, just say for instance it was that. If you was reading that, you might say she went to see her friend. So the first thing, I'll go back and I say, huh? You have to pull up. You have to come. The smallest things make a big difference to the bigger things, okay? So if it said I and you say she or he, for instance, yeah, and it's not she or he and it's I, you need to go back to it if you're aware of it, especially if you're reading with someone. It's easier to kind of help that person. But if you're reading on your own, you may miss it. But what I do is I'll go back and I'll say, what did you see? And they might see it 3 or 4 times. Okay, I've noticed they do it 3 or 4 times. So what I do is I write that word down. I write she, and I write he, and I write I, and then I will say, okay, what are these words? What can you see? And they'll say she, he, I. Okay, again, and I'll bounce the pen between them, and I'll say, okay, this is what you can see, right? Okay, now let's go back to the text. They go back to the text. They might say the same thing again. So, and I've seen this happen a few times. So it's just about recognition and then going back to it until they kind of get it right. And then they'll be like, oh yeah. And I'll remind them and I will say to them, you are struggling or you are battling with your own mind. You are assuming what is there, which is not there. Okay, so I will say read what is there. Try your best to read what is there. Because I think with people with dyslexia, I'm probably a bit the same. We tend to rebel a little bit. Okay, so we rebel on what we think is there, and could be a bit stubborn about it to some degree. All right, it might not be that. It's just I'd kind of say that's what it is because I'm telling myself off a little bit like, why am I reading something that's not there? Okay, well, why is the student that is teaching reading something that is not there? So I will say we talk about it and, might laugh about it a little bit and we say, all right, we're going to get over this. We're going to overcome. We're going to achieve. All right. And being confident, first of all, being confident as well is very important because when you're not getting a subject, especially if you're in class, teachers are there to help you as much as I know. All right. Putting your hand up and asking a question to ask what it is, something that you don't understand, is very important because it's in the teacher's interest that you pass the subject as best as you can. All right. And these days there's a lot of support to help people like this in these situations. In my day when I was in school, I was just known as a rebel and just causing trouble and or just a nuisance in the class because times I just didn't know, and maybe my anxieties would start to be I would just start distracting and doing other things that I could talk out, I could answer questions, but sometimes to write something down was another battle for me sometimes, or to get to grasp with something. All right, so sometimes you might find this amongst with your young people or some of the students that you work with as well, and it's really good to kind of come down on a decent level with them and speak to them and see what it is that you can do to help them as much as you can. If you can't talk to them, get somebody else to talk to them. We work together the best we can. If you know someone that connects with that student, get them to talk with them and be around with them at the same time maybe, because it's a triangle effect or it's a square effect, whatever effect you want. In order for everyone to work with each other, this world is not structured for everyone to fit in a certain way within the structures that there is within life. So we need to try our best to support those people who think out of the box, who don't fit into the box of certain structures. Right. So so with reading, that's mainly it as well. So I said about literally finding your interest. Oh yeah, so based on the interest as well. So with the interest, if you find that you like there's a subject that you like and you connect with, find books based on it, listen to audios or watch movies and play subtitles, put subtitles on. See if you start getting used to certain words and reading along with it, trying your best to get that kind of style of understanding. All right. When you do that, then everything else will start opening up to you. You'll start to enjoy learning a lot more. Okay, this is what happened to me later on in my period. I didn't finish school. I went to 5 schools, meaning that I went to 2 primary and I went to 3 secondary. But most of them was only because I was moving, and my mum didn't really like how I was getting on in one of the schools, so she moved me. But my last school, I got kicked out clean. The school just had enough of me, and I probably just had enough of teachers. So I just was at home babysitting my brother, eating peanut butter and jam sandwiches, watching TV, and just, that was it for a little while I was out of school for a whole year and a half. There was no YouTube or anything around for me. I was just literally, I was into playing basketball. So I missed out a little bit. So I fell back a little bit, and so I wasn't as advanced as many people who was in school and took it a lot more serious than I did. All right, so and that's not to say that I'm using it as an excuse. I don't want no one to use their their challenge, whatever their ability is or disability is, as an excuse. You need to more come back and fight back and say, no, I can overcome this. No matter what people think or how they feel about me, I can overcome it. I've come this far. I am a testimony of it. Yeah, if you want to hear about things, we'll talk about them along the way. You see me in my other videos, I'll be real with you as much as I can. Yeah, just keeping it real. So, with writing, so I've got to be mindful of my charger, okay? I need to charge my battery, so give me 1 second. I was so passionate about talking about this subject that I wanted to make sure that I got it out as soon as possible while I can, because I don't want to procrastinate on it. You know, like when you've got a burning desire to get something off your chest and you just want to keep it as real as possible. Yeah, that's what it is right now. So yeah, reading. I'm going to go back to the reading in a minute, but I want to talk also about writing, and it's not going to be as long. But writing, I find that when I'm writing, I miss words, misspell things, and that's not straight away, because I assume that when I'm writing, everything that I'm writing is coherent and it's clear immediately. Now, emails and sending texts and stuff is the best thing, because you can always read back and just correct it automatically, or you can see where you've made an error, or there's a red line or a green line saying something's not right, then you can go over it. Whereas when you're writing is a really good skill. I think we should keep writing, because it cognitively, hand-eye coordination stuff kind of helps you to understand things a lot more. It helps to exercise your brain and opens up a lot more of that brain capacity. All right. So when I'm writing, I feel like I'm writing. I'm using the right letters and the sounds and everything. And I've looked back and I'm like, and I know how to spell these words. That's the thing. I know how to spell these words. But then I find that I've written it incorrectly. So what you need to do, again, like the reading, is look over your work. Good to draft. 5-minute exercise, maybe every day, every time you can get a chance to do it. I love that when I was in uni, we did like these 5-minute exercises, okay, where we would write about something, choose a subject and write about it. And that's what I love about freestyling, because I would freestyle and things will just come off my chest. That's, I think, one of my gifts. I don't know who says it's the likes that tell you, but I enjoy it, because I feel like it's good to get things off your chest in that kind of way. It's a kind of therapy for me. So when writing, I find that it's good to look back at your work, check over it, and then write it again. All right, don't be scared or lazy to go over your work and write it again. And something that my dad did to me, and I completely did hate it for a while. But you know, as you get older, you get wiser and you start to understand why he did it, but why, you know, your adults and your peers or teachers, whoever your teachers are frustrated, or they're trying their best to help you and you just don't see it at the time. However, your time will come. If the time is not now, do what you can while you can, but your time will come when you need it and you know it's more important to you. And you know, but right now, this is why I'm doing this video, because I'm trying to help those who have this challenge in their life to try their best to overcome it now. Yeah, if I had someone talking to me like this and kind of explaining something that was similar, then I would kind of like, yeah, okay, I get it. But more time, people had these high egos, like, yeah. And that's another thing with people, you know, we tend to say, yeah, I get it. And they don't get it. I didn't get it sometimes, because it depends on the way that person's talking to you. I mean, I worked in an office with these South African guys once, and they had a certain tone about them when they was talking, and they were just like, they showed me how to do something, and I was quite quick on computers and stuff, but it was just the way and the force of how they were saying things, it put me off. And I just say, yeah, I get it, and then I'll just try and work it out myself. It was the biggest mistake I made. I was just making more and more mistakes. So we have to kind of be brave enough to overcome and face different type of people as much as they've got to face different type of people like us. All right. So yeah, when understanding things, be brave, be bold, and confident as much as you can. And I know not everyone is built and structured like that. I go through shy stages. I go through seriously shy stages or quiet stages where I feel even like I don't even know how to speak properly anymore. My words don't come out coherently or whatever. And then there's times when I just feel amazing. I feel good, and things are just coming out the way they should. Yeah, depending on how comfortable I feel in my environment and the people that I'm around. Yeah. So, like for instance, where I work sometimes, like there's a vernacular, there's a certain, not a code of talk, but the subject is quite. They have a lot of codes or abbreviations or things that they use in place of the subject. So it's English, yeah. I love English and I'm learning English, but like due to like exams and stuff, I'll just do covering kind of thing. So I'll just cover lessons more time and I teach lessons as like for those teachers. But I do all lessons across the board, which is fantastic for me because I love spontaneity. All right, so I'll do geography, I'll do drama, I'll do some bit of music, I'll do history, I'll do ask about me. Yeah, it's like that. But I will just go in and I literally could just do a lesson, and most teachers will say that's one of the hardest jobs to do. But for me, I enjoy it because I'm learning something new and I'm kind of more like interested in what I'm going to learn next because now I've connected. I love learning. Yeah, but where you're hearing different strategies, like teachers will talk about different things, it sounds like it's just blowing your head out. Like, what are they talking about? And that's not like a diss to them. It's just me. I'm thinking I'm having a lack of understanding and stuff. And I just think how well educated they sound. And me, I'm just sometimes, you beat yourself up a bit, but you need to overcome that. Sometimes it's good to put yourself in that position where you're around people more intelligent in a sense than yourself, okay? And then you have something to learn, you have something to achieve, rather than you being the most intelligent person in the room. And intellect doesn't beat everything because it comes down to, when we talk about enlightenment, it's all about what comes from your chest, from your heart, from your consciousness, all right? That's the real winner. Yeah, that's the real winner because everything like intellect is learned behavior. Instinctual behavior is felt, all right? So this is probably what more like dyslexic people more thrive to. So when you look at people like Jamie Oliver, who has he's dyslexic. I saw a few people that I was searching up. Richard Branson, very like hands-on type of people. Trump as well. Apparently, you hear in the news, oh, he can't write, he can't read, or whatever it is. Yeah, but man, this man's got business. He's a president. He's a president. Sorry. Will Smith, will.i.am. All these people are creative people in a sort of certain way. I create through writing, creative writing. Like I love English and I love reading when I get to grips with it and when I get a chance to. But where I thrive and I just love, I really enjoy passionately is when I just sit and I write. Before I even went to uni and did creative writing in English, or English with creative writing, I found that I was writing poetry before that. I never read any poets before. I wasn't really interested in it. My dad tried to give me a poetry book. Keats. I didn't know what the guy was talking about. And until I went to uni, they show you how to analyze and annotate a little bit. But now, like I was just writing whatever I felt and I had that freedom to write how I felt, And I look back at some of the stuff and some of it is really great. Some of it is like, well, what was I trying to say there? And I'm a little bit able to kind of connect with it and correct it, But there's teaching strategies now. And I'm like, even when I'm teaching, I'm like, wow, these children are gifted. They've been given these gifts, these jewels to show them how it's done. Where that when I went to uni, I was thinking, how do people just know this stuff? They just knew this stuff. It's because they did well in school, one, and yeah, partly that was it. There was these tools that were given, but I don't remember them so much when I was in school. Maybe I was playing around too much, or maybe school was just a little bit different to, different schools, different people. Give out different information sometimes, and sometimes I do boil it down to that because I went to a few schools, and my best school was in the States. Yeah, I was thriving. I was doing well. I was learning Spanish. I was doing great with maths. The lessons was just different. So with the writing, going over it, yeah, try your best to overcome those challenges with the writing. Um, breathing. Breathing plays a big part. You need to make sure your mind is settled, your chest, your breathing area is just, because why I say that is because you tend to, if I'm rushing and I'm writing, it probably won't make sense of what I'm writing. But if I'm in a more calm environment, maybe putting some incense stick or little essence, oil essence, or some good smells in the room or whatever. You smell nice yourself. Just help to relax when you're writing. It helps a lot. When you're more chilled out, you can absorb more. You need to get more oxygen, fluid, drink water. All of those things are so important. Um, that helps a lot when you're writing or reading. Yeah, and be mindful of eating too many sweets and additives, things, sugars, and all of those kind of things. Yeah, just keeps you. It might help a little bit, but in the long run, no, you don't obviously want that. But yeah, best things are natural. What else can I say to help you? There's also yes, your breathing technique, your writing. So when you're writing, you need to make sure you check over your stuff. Yeah, and also, yeah, I think that's mainly it. What I wanted to do, I wanted to read a paragraph just to give you a demonstration. This is Bill Bryson, Mother Tongue. I've got loads of books, passionate about trying my best to get to grips with reading. I'm just going to read a paragraph, all right, and see how I get on, and I'll just explain to you what that is, what process I go through sometimes, okay? Have in mind, I do teach now, so I get to read quite a lot, quite often. I read a lot more, so I'm a bit more in tune. But I know that times when I don't, I still struggle. But I still struggle sometimes, but I'll give you my best. But still, if I struggle, I'll tell you why. All right. There are endless difficulties attached to judging how many words a person knows. Consider just one. If I ask you what incongruent means, and you say I meant not congruent, you are correct. This is the first definition given in most dictionaries, but that isn't to say that you have the faintest idea what the word means. Every page of the dictionary contains words we may not have encountered before. Inflationists, forbiddance, moosewood, pulsative, and yet those meanings we could very probably guess. Okay, cool. So as you can see through there, yeah, I struggled with a few things, a few words. I'm not used to seeing the word incongruent and congruent. I have no idea what it means. All right, I would have to look it up. Dictionary is my best friend. Forbiddance is this words that are spelled forbiddance. I'm not sure if that's the correct spelling, but yeah, I've never heard of the word forbiddance. I heard of the word forbidden, but yeah, some words will just play around in my head, and I'm thinking, is that right? I'm trying my best to get it correct. Reading sometimes one word at a time, we tend to do that. Some good readers, will read 3 or 4 words ahead, and they'll get to grasp with what they're reading and understanding it at the same time. Where that with myself and many other people that I know, we'd have to read a word at a time just to try to absorb what it is that we're trying to understand, what the text is trying to say to us. So, saying that, I also noticed that, I was just reading and I found out, I was struggling with a few of the spellings and stuff, and maybe having to go over the words again. And that's something that I would have to do sometimes. Now, if I was going to say read this book, I'm very well connected to this kind of stuff. I like chakras, I like the meaning of life and understanding, and a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about, more well-being, the connection, the sex of two beings, the how two people meet, maybe the vibration, all of those kind of things. This one's called The New Art of sexual ecstasy. So I'll open up a page of this, and let me just see. I'll just grab a short paragraph somewhere. Just looking for a paragraph. Okay. It says Dancing with the Gods, and I've been here before, but I'll just read it anyway. Okay, so the next skill, sorry, right, don't apologize. The next skill to be developed for enhancing intimacy in imagination is the ability to create in your mind's eye a vision of what is possible, so what you can mobilize your talents to actualize it. The power of imagination is operating all around us. Many athletes, for instance, visualize precisely how they are going to achieve optimum performance. Once you dare to imagine your goal, you are flooded with ideas about how to realize. I need to pause this. How to realize that image, says Olympic athlete Marilyn King, recalling her training as a high jumper. She says that before each jumper, she runs through every step in her mind. Okay, so yeah, I didn't struggle so much with that, but I was more kind of in tune with it, a little bit distracted, and then I rushed myself ahead because I wanted to get to the end. So again, that's about the breathing. All right, so it's reminding yourself of these skills, trying your best to understand them as best as you can. Now, not understand them, but trying your best to have strategies to overcome them. Now, in the comments below, if you can help other people with other ways that you may struggle with dyslexia, and you have ways that you can find books to, or find ways to beat some of these challenges, let people know. Also, I noticed that these days, and I don't know if they was around then, but I've recently found that there's books for dyslexia people. Usually a yellow page background helps people with dyslexia, spaced out. There's text that space out the lines in for each sentence, okay, or so it's more easier to pick up, and the words are just not literally just jumping out at you or anything. All right. I'm hoping that I've covered a lot today. I might do another video based on it, but I hope that this has been very helpful for you. Let's leave it there. Like I've said in previous videos, when you're winning, I'm winning. We're all winning. So let's support each other, help each other where we can, and yeah, let's create this world peace and make these changes. We once believed them when we were children, we can still believe them now as we're growing up through teenage to adults, okay? Alright, take it easy. Peace.